Today I'm gonna complete this series of how the heck I got here. Today's video is gonna be about the jobs, babies, and finally, where I'm at today. Susan's Little Cup of Magic. Welcome to Susan's Little Cup of Magic. Hi, I'm Susan. I'm the hostess of this channel. I'm also an intuitive coach and a holy fire Reiki master healer and a storyteller. On this channel, I center my stories around my personal experiences with late diagnosis ADHD, highly sensitivity, empath, and other neurodiversities. I also speak a little to my perimenopausal rage and some of my stand-up comedy. But most importantly, I talk about how connecting with our intuition is the way to fully access our authentic selves. I also coach women who find themselves in the same space, trying to find a way to reclaim who they truly are. Now let's get to today's story. The timeline of things. Video 1, I talked to you about the very beginning where I met my husband, who is Dutch, brought me here. And I shared with you Love Pat as a way of talking about how I came here. Also, the second video, I talked about how I started to build community. I didn't, and maybe I haven't touched too much on the whole integration process. I'll lightly do that in this video, and I'll talk about the experience of getting a job. I do want to fast track this to how I started my business, which happened 4 or 5 years into living in the Netherlands. I have been fully integrated through the integration process. I took the language courses and the culture courses that were necessary to keep my visa. In the process of that, I was in a full-time temporary position. I had gone through a few of these, never ending or resulting in a permanent contract. Some of that's because of my experience level. I was only able to get entry-level jobs at my late 30s. It was really hard to translate my experience in the job market without having some sort of credential behind it. It's very, at least it once was, very important in the Dutch market that you can prove your skills and how you acquired them. I found that a little bit daunting in the sense that most of my skills came from experience. So that's a shift that I had to make while interviewing for positions. But what always ended up happening was that these jobs, of course, didn't go any further because I was bored. I was bored at an entry level. And that's not hubris, that's life experience. I wanted more challenging things. Speed up to a point in my relationship, we were engaged and we wanted to have a child. Now, being older and in my 30s, late 30s, we wanted to do that relatively soon. Another key thing about living here in the Netherlands that I'm very grateful for is IVF, because we had to start that process. And that is part of the insurance system. I didn't have to pay, we didn't have to pay out of pocket. We went through that pregnancy and got married. There was a lot going on, so I stopped looking for jobs. All of those things came together, which was great. I finished and completed and passed all my final exams, which means I fulfilled my visa requirements. I had a baby, and we did get married. And we have been married now, coming up on 14 years. So that's amazing. At a certain point in my daughter's life, around 1 year into her life, I was starting to feel I wanted more. And that's something that happens to many women. Never having found a job made me feel a little unsettled. I felt really connected with supporting people. I was also part of a new community with mothers and daughters and sons, moms and tots, they called it. And I met so many people that opened doorways for me. This lovely woman shared with me, if I was interested in coaching, that I should check out this company or organization called CTI. When I checked out Coaching Training Institute, CTI, I really liked what I read. It was a great match for what I was looking for. You see, after going through the job market here in the Netherlands, having a small child, toddler, I really didn't want to leave home. I wanted to build up a career that felt fulfilling to me, which I didn't necessarily want to go out and interview for jobs. It just was too stressful for me at that point, and I wanted to still be around for my child. So when I looked it up, it was great, and I even took an intake to find out more. All of their classes were on the weekend. I could get all of my lessons and core certifications done within 6 months. So I did it. Part of being in this coaching program, they asked me, who do I want to support? And they also heavily suggested that you start your business at the same time, if that's the path that I wanted to take. And indeed it would be. I wanted to run my own schedule, work from home. So when they shared that with me, that it would be a great idea to start it alongside of a brand new business, I started to think about who I wanted to support. And I went way back to all those days when I was in integration classes. I have been fortunate enough to meet all kinds of different people through integrating in another country. I've met people who are refugees from war-torn lands. I've met people from countries I didn't even know existed. It really gives you a larger perspective on other people's challenges. That's what I reflected back on. We all might be from different places, but we're all experiencing the same challenges, the same struggles, the same complaints, because we're the outsider trying to make a life inside the same country. And with every country, they have their own set of rules and their own cultural norms. And I understand people were at different parts of their own integration process and their own living abroad process. And I thought, what would it be like if somebody had the tools to help them not only aerate out what was frustrating, because we do need that space, but also to feel more empowered in who they are and how they can live here. And so that's when I became the life coach for expats. I thought that would be the first place I could really have an impact as a coach. About why that group was important to me. It wasn't just because of who I was, but I also wanted to shine a light on all of the powerful traits that they already hold within them just by being in another country. And that goes back to my video at the very beginning. It takes a lot of resiliency to live in another country. You have to self-motivate every day and go back out into the job market and learn how that culture works. And that takes a lot of energy. So that's how I became a coach. Now I'm a coach for women who are neurodivergent and who are more on the spiritual side of things, people who want to tap into their intuition to help navigate life. But the premise is still the same. It has always been about empowering people from within to who they are.